Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me for this 30 minutes online yoga flow class. This class is going to be based on the Muladhara chakra, which is the first chakra of the 7 key energy centers located along the length of the spine. Muladhara chakra is located at the tailbone, so the root of the spine. The Muladhara chakra is best visualized as a spinning disc in a powerful color of red. So you can use that as a visualization tool through your practice today. It's the element earth, so lots of grounding postures, lots of balancing postures, and staying nice and strong through our core to stay as stable as possible in this class. So we're going to be working on balancing this chakra. So if you find that maybe your chakra is too open, you can end up relying too much on the physical needs. So you can find that you're maybe a bit overindulgent with hunger. You can end up being a bit over assertive, perhaps a bit of a bully. Maybe not, but also if you find it's under energized, you may find that you're lacking in self-confidence, lacking in self-awareness. So we're going to work with balancing it so we're nice and grounded, nice energy, but nice and stable in our practice as well. As always, if you wanted to donate, I will leave the link down below to the PayPal and the Patreon. Thank you so much to everyone who's donated. This has been so helpful to support me making these videos. I really appreciate it. I will also leave the link down below to the Facebook and Instagram if you wanted to follow me on these just to keep updated on the videos and things like that. Thank you very much. Enjoy the class. Namaste. So we'll start in a comfortable seated position. Whatever that looks like for you, you can sit cross legs, extend your legs out in front, sit on a cushion or a block. Any position where you feel nice and long through the spine, nice and extended through the crown of the head, lifted through the chest, and the shoulders can drop away from the ears. Begin to come into a place of stillness. So I recommend, if you feel safe, you begin to close your eyes. Beginning to connect to your Ujjayi pranayama. Breathing in and out through the nose. Long, deep breaths in, watching the journey of the breath travel all the way down into the belly. And as you exhale, you create a small restriction to the back of the throat, creating an ocean-like sound in the back of the head. And I encourage you to stay connected to this breath throughout your entire practice. If you can, this will help you stay strong in the standing postures. It will help you stay balanced in the balancing postures, and it will help you go a little bit deeper into the flexibility-based postures. Allow the mind to clear. Any chittavritti or mind chatter, let that go. These thoughts will still be here at the end of your practice. Take the time for the next 30 minutes or so just for you. And then gently bring the palms together at the heart center. Softly open your eyes. Namaste. Start with our spinal warm-up. So you can stay exactly where you are. If your legs were crossed, it may feel nice to change the cross of the legs here. You're going to bring your right hand to the outside of the right hip as we inhale, extend up through those left fingertips. As we exhale, we side bend over to the right, maybe coming down onto that elbow, but staying grounded through both sit bones, staying nice and open through the shoulders, lifted through the chest. If it feels comfortable in the neck, you can begin to look up towards that top handle, the ceiling, but don't strain it. We're just taking gentle movements to warm up here. As we inhale, come through center, reach up. Exhale, left hand to the outside of the left hip. Inhale, reach up through those right fingertips. Exhale, side bend over towards the left. Maybe coming down onto that elbow, but again, more important that we stay rooted through the sit bones and nice and long through the spine, as opposed to folding forward and rounding. Imagine that your chest is spiraling up towards the ceiling. Inhale, come through center, reach up. Exhale, right hand to the outside of the right hip, left hand towards the right knee as we twist. Inhale, create space, lift through the crown of the head. Exhale to twist, maybe beginning to look out over that right shoulder. As we inhale, come through center, reach up, stretch for the fresh new energy. Exhale, left hand to the outside of the left hip, right hand towards the left knee. Inhale, create space. Exhale, twist. Inhale, come through center, reach up. Exhale, release the hands down, coming into a tabletop position. So hands and knees, wrists underneath elbows, underneath shoulders, knees underneath your hips, feet flat out behind you. We'll do 3 rounds of cat-cow. So on the inhale, we lift through the crown of the head, lift the chest, belly drops down as the tailbone begins to reach up. As we exhale, we start the movement of the tailbone, we round the spine, lift and separate the shoulder blades as the crown of the head releases down. Take 2 more of each at your own pace, inhaling to open up, extending through the front body. And as we exhale, we expand through the back body, creating space in the shoulders and the back of the neck. And then wherever you are on your next breath in, we'll come into a neutral spine, coming into our first downward facing dog, palms spread nice and wide, grounding through the finger pads and the knuckles. Tuck the toes under and lift the hips up and back towards the ceiling. Knees can stay bent here to start with. Really strengthening through the hands, beginning to lift the sit bones up towards the ceiling and allow the chest to melt back so the belly comes towards the thighs. If you feel nice and open here through the shoulders, you can begin to extend the heels down towards the floor, but try to make it a fluid motion. So begin to press back from the palms of the hands, lift through the shoulders. From here, lift the sit bones up and back, and then from there, begin to extend the heels back and down. If at any point this posture feels too much, you can always drop to the knees or the shins and come into either a tabletop or a child's pose. And then from here, begin to look forward in as many steps as you need, keeping your knees bent. We're going to walk into a ragdoll. So feet hips distance apart, knees bent. You can take opposite hand to opposite elbow, or let your arms hang heavy as you bring some gentle movements through the spine, side to side. Maybe let that movement work its way through to your neck and your head. And then when you're ready, release the elbows if you had a hold of them. Staying strong through the feet and bent through the knees. Begin to roll up the spine, stacking 1 vertebrae at a time over your hips until your chin comes parallel with the floor. Samastiti, mountain pose, big toes touching, little sliver of gap between the heels, or feet hips distance apart, flat edges of the feet parallel with the flat edges of the mat. Your legs are engaged, your kneecaps drawing up, tailbone draws down towards the floor, and your core stays engaged, and keep that belly drawn in and back towards the spine. Shoulders are up and away from the ears, so we're nice and open through the collarbone and the chest. Palms face forward and your chin's parallel with the floor. Okay, so if you're ever between standing postures, this will be the posture that you come into. We're going to take 3 rounds of Surya Namaskar A. Take any variation that feels good to you today. The first round I do will be modified, and then I'll offer some up-level options, but pick where you are today. As we inhale, bring your arms up overhead, shoulders away from the ears, look forward, palms face each other, shoulders away from the ears. Exhale, bend the knees, hinge forward from the hips, bring the hands to the thighs, the shins, or towards the floor. As we inhale, begin to straighten the legs, bring the palms up the legs, hips over heels, lift the chest, lift the gaze, shoulders draw away from the ears. As we exhale, bend the knees enough that you can plant both hands on the mat, stepping back to plank, using the strength of the arms, lower all the way down to the belly. Knees can be lifted or lowered. As we inhale, come into baby cobra, palms underneath your shoulders, elbows tucked into ribs, lift the chest, lift the gaze. Exhale, forehead releases down. Using the strength of the arms, come through tabletop, tuck the toes under, downward facing dog. Knees can be as bent or as straight as feels good to you here. Keeping lifted through the core, keeping those sit bones lifting up towards the ceiling and the chest melting back towards the thighs. As we inhale, we look forward in as many steps as you need. Walk forward to the halfway lift. As you exhale, the crown of the head releases down, bend the knees as much as you need to here. As we inhale, we're going to come up with a straight spine if we can, so sweeping the arms alongside the ears, keep the core engaged. As we lift up, exhale, Samastiti. Okay, some different options this time. As we inhale, arms up overhead. This time, maybe draw the palms together, looking up towards the thumbs. Keep those low ribs drawn in, tailbone draws down. As we exhale, hinge forward from the hips. Bring the hands down towards the floor, hips over heels if the legs are straight. Inhale, halfway lift, lift the chest, lift the gaze, look forward. As we exhale, plant the hands, stepping back to plank. This time maybe chaturanga, so lower halfway down, shoulders no lower than elbows, knees lifted, core is engaged. Inhale, you can either flip the feet or roll over the toes, upward facing dog. Arms towards straight. As we exhale again, roll over the toes or flip the feet, downward facing dog. One full breath. Keep that core engaged. And your gaze point is either your toes, your knees, or towards your belly button here. There should be no tension in the neck. And as we inhale, we look forward to the space between your hands in as many steps as you need, or you can float forward. Halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms alongside the ears as we sweep up with a straight spine, come all the way up, maybe look up, low ribs drawn in. Exhale, Samastiti. Last round, inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step, or you can float back through chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. One full breath. Inhale, look forward, step or float, keeping that core engaged to the halfway lift. Exhale, fold, hips staying over the heels. Inhale, straight spine, keep the core engaged as we lift up. Exhale, Samastiti at the front of the mat. Okay, so Uttita Trikonasana, extended triangle. As we inhale, we bring our right foot to the back of the mat. Bring your right toes out so they face the short edge of the mat. Your left toes in slightly so the flat edge of the foot is parallel with the flat edge of the mat. Heel to arch alignment, arms out to shoulder height, lengthening the spine, lifting the chest, lifting up through the crown of the head. As we exhale, we begin to reach forward with those right fingertips. Bring the right hand to the thigh, the shin. If you have a block, you can bring it down to the block or the floor. That can be on the inside or the outside of the foot. And you can look down towards that right big toe, or if it's comfortable in your neck, you can begin to look up towards that left thumb. But try to visualize here the powerful energy, this Muladhara energy, the red, powerful color, drawing up from the earth beneath you and traveling along through the strong, grounded feet all the way to the root of the spine, where it fills your Muladhara chakra with fresh, powerful new prana or energy. So try to keep the legs as engaged as you can. Stay grounded through all four corners of both feet as you lift through the core and feel energized here and grounded. It's a very grounding energy. As we inhale, look down towards that right big toe as we come back through center. Bring your right toes in slightly. Left toes face the short edge of the mat as we exhale. Inhale, create space, lift, lengthen. Exhale, reach forward with those left fingertips. Left hand to the thigh, the shin, the floor, or the block on either side. And focus on spiraling the chest up towards the ceiling. As I said, find a comfortable position for your neck, but try to focus on lifting out as we allow space for that fresh new energy to travel to your root chakra, the base of your spine. Stay strong through all four corners of both feet. And it can help to visualize this energy as a powerful red energy traveling to the root of the spine. Feel grounded and heavy
even in poses where we're balancing. As we inhale, look down towards that left big toe as we come back up through center. We're now going to move into Virabhadrasana A, Warrior One. So staying over your left leg, bring your right foot in slightly and bring the toes in so that they're about 45 degrees. So heel to heel alignment this time, maybe hips distance apart if you feel a little bit more balanced in this posture. We're going to square our hips off to the short edge of the mat. As we inhale, we lengthen. As we exhale, we stack our left knee over our left ankle. Again, creating space for that energy to travel up through both legs into our root chakra. Nice, energizing, grounding, powerful prana. You can keep your hands on your hips, or to add that little bit more energizing movement, we can bring our arms up overhead. So spiral the little fingers in towards each other, the thumbs outwards. So we're nice and open through the shoulders. If we tend to sort of bring our hands together, you find that the shoulders can kind of hunch up around the ears. If you spiral the little fingers in towards each other, it naturally opens up through the tops of the shoulders. Focus on squaring the hips off to the short edge of the mat. If you notice they're beginning to open out to the side, it may mean you need to draw that right foot in slightly. And just checking in that the left knee is staying tracking over the left ankle. And as much as you can, keep your core engaged, so avoiding a sway back. Take a break if you need it. Avoiding a sway back where your belly pokes out and your tailbone lifts out. Instead, keep your core engaged. As much as you can, draw that tailbone drop down towards the floor. As we inhale, extend through that left leg, spiral the feet. You can keep your arms lifted or you can keep them on your hips. And again, just check in, heel to heel alignment or hips distance apart. That back foot can come in as much as you need to take this movement. Okay, so roughly 45 degrees in the back foot. As I said, hands on the hips or up overhead. Check that that right knee is stacking over the right ankle and it's in line with the second and third toe. So it's not collapsing inwards, it's staying stacked over the second and third toe as we stay lifted and engaged. Draw that belly in, tailbone draws down. Shoulders draw away from the ears as we spiral the little fingers in towards each other. Nice and open through the shoulders. Grounding through all four corners of both foot as we fill our body with fresh new energy. As we inhale, we straighten through that right leg. Open up to the side, bring your hands to the hips, exhale. Toes come in slightly more than the heels, so the flat edges of the feet are parallel with the flat edges of the mat. Hands to hips, inhale, lengthen the spine and lift the chest. As we exhale, we hinge forward from the hips. So if you get about halfway down and you find your spine is beginning to round here, you can keep your hands on your hips and stay lengthened through the spine, lifted through the crown of the head. If you wanted to take it a little bit deeper, you can begin to fold forward, releasing the crown of the head down, bringing the palms to the floor, in line with the feet about shoulder distance apart, or you can hook your peace fingers around your big toes here, beginning to use the strength of the arms, keeping that core engaged as we fold forward. The crown of the head can release down. So again, visualize this energy traveling up through all four corners of both feet, up the legs, keep the legs nice and engaged, giving the energy free travel here, nice and strong, all the way through to the root of the spine, the top of the legs, which should be, in theory, the top of our posture. So as we release the crown of the head down, the energy also travels back up the length of the spine towards the root chakra. And feel very grounded, very earthed here. If it helps, you can begin to bring some gentle movements into the spine. This can help with the sensation of grounding. So shifting the weight into the heels and then rolling forward, shifting the weight into the balls of the feet, the toes of the feet. Just notice here. And you can always bring your hands forward slightly if you wanted to play even more with your balance. But staying nice and engaged through those legs. Nice and grounded through the feet. And as we inhale, head up, look to center if you weren't already. As we exhale, bring the hands to the hips. Inhale, reaching up, come all the way back through center. And as we exhale, we're going to step to Samastiti, the front of the mat. So from here, we're going to vinyasa through to our seated position and our core work positions. If you wanted a vinyasa, you can vinyasa with me. If not, you can skip it. Feel free to skip it. Otherwise, as we inhale, draw the arms up overhead, palms together, look up towards those thumbs, keeping the core engaged, shoulders away from the ears, tailbone draws down. Exhale, hinge forward from the hips, bringing the hands down, thigh shin, or towards the floor. If your legs are straight, hips over the heels. Inhale. We lengthen the spine, lift the chest, lift the gaze. Exhale, plant the hands. You can step, jump, float back through chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing, lengthening through the front body, arms towards straight. Exhale, roll back, downward facing dog. Now to come through to seated, first option is to drop to the shins, sit the hips back to the heels, and you can bring your legs out in front if that feels comfortable. And second option is to bring right knee to right wrist, left knee to left wrist, cross the ankles and sit through. Okay, so this is working more towards jumping through. You're keeping your core engaged, bringing some of the weight into the arms as we begin to step through. So we're going to come into Navasana, boat pose, which is going to be a little bit of core work to help that energy kind of localize in towards our core area and towards the lower spine. We're going to be balancing on our sit bones and towards the tailbone where our Muladhara chakra, is located. So this is going to help draw the energy inwards towards that area. So a few options we can take here. The first option is to take a hold of the back of the thighs, gently draw the toes into a point where you feel lightness, and then begin to lift either one leg at a time towards parallel, and you can stay here. If you're not really feeling too much going on in your core, it may feel nice to release the arms alongside the body, palms face up, so you can feel nice and energized in the hands. But avoid the tendency of kind of rolling back. So there's the sacrum, the flat part of the spine. Try to avoid rolling back to that point. Instead, stay lifted through. So you're nice and straight through the spine, nice and lifted through the chest. And you're balancing on your sit bones, allowing the energy to travel towards your tailbone. Nice grounding energy for your Muladhara chakra. Release for a breath. We're going to take 3 rounds. Second round, you can take the same variation. If you're wanting to challenge yourself, then you can begin to extend your legs towards straight. If you notice you're rolling back here, then don't take this variation. Just stay where you were and then release the hands. Slightly more intense variation, you may find you start shaking. That means it's working. Take one more breath in. Exhale, release for 1 breath. And last round, you can take whichever variation you like. Just keeping the chest lifted towards the thighs. Nice tall spine. 1 more breath in. Exhale, release. Take a little rest here. Slow the breathing down. It can be kind of hard to connect to Ujjayi Pranayama when you're doing core work, so sometimes it's an easy place to lose your breath pattern. So just gently bring it back now. We're going to come into Malasana, yogi squat or garland pose, depending on which variation you've learned. So I'm going to come at it through taking a vinyasa. You can take a vinyasa if you wanted to, or you can just come into it with me when I cue it. So I'm going to plant the hands, step back through chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. And then as we inhale, we look towards the hands. You can step, or I find it could be quite fun to kind of do like a froggy hop. So bending the knees, staying lifted through the core, keeping that tailbone nice and lengthened. We step and try to land with lightness into your Malasana, your froggy hop. So you may find here that this feels a little too intense. So you're always welcome to kind of come to a mid-range squat and just begin to open up through the inner thighs here, that's fine. If you come down and you notice your heels are lifting, that's fine too. You can place blocks underneath your heels, or you can roll up the mat and place them under your heels as well for support. But if your heels comfortably reach the floor, then you can begin to bring the weight back into the heels as well. Palms together at the heart center, thumb towards sternum, sternum towards thumbs. The knees and the toes should be facing the same direction. So if your toes are straight, your knees can be straight as well. They're probably not going to be towards straight. They're probably going to be more like 45 degrees, but make sure your knees are facing out the same direction as your toes. We'll take a few breaths here. Really beginning to open up through the chest, lengthening the spine, beginning to open up through the inner thighs and the hips, allowing that energy again to travel to our root chakra. We have got the option for an arm balance. This I'm going to include because I think it's a lovely grounding energy, and the Muladhara chakra is all about grounding energies and earth elements, so it's going to help us balance and use that element wisely. But if you don't want to take it, it's not in your practice, you don't have to take it. Any pain in the wrists, don't take this variation. Just stay here in Malasana. This is already strengthening the wrists quite a lot. Otherwise, to come into Bakasana, crow pose, we're going to, from our Malasana, begin to bring our torso parallel with the floor. Keep the palms on the floor, shoulder distance apart. Fingers spread nice and wide, grounding through the fingertips and all 10 knuckles, so you've got that mobility in your fingers. Bring the toes in towards each other. Bring the knees to the tops of the arms and begin to squeeze the tops of the arms with your knees. You can lift one foot off the floor or both feet off the floor. Begin to engage your core as you bring your heels in towards your sit bones. If you have a pillow or a block in front of your face, that can be really useful for support to know you're not going to fall. And if you wanted to bring the toes to a block, that can be really useful as well for lifting off. It's slightly less distance to go. And when you're ready, release back to Malasana, release the wrists. Okay, so if you're working with that posture, feel free to pause the video, have a little go, but be mindful, don't work too hard. It can be quite delicate on the wrists, so just be mindful of that. Gentle movements. And then when you're ready, we're going to come down to a seat, so you can roll back if that feels nice, or just come to one side and drop down to a seat. We're going to come into Janu Shasana, head to knee pose. We're going to bring our legs out in front. I'll just face you for a second. And we're going to bring our right knee in towards our chest. As we exhale, we open it out to the side, sole of the foot towards the inner thigh. As we inhale, we create space, we lift through those fingertips. As we exhale, we hinge forward from the hips, bring the hands to the thighs, the shins, or you can take your hands towards your feet or peace fingers around the toes. That feels nice. And bring your hands out wide, wherever you feel most balanced here. But try to avoid the tendency of reaching for the foot if you find that you're rounding through the spine. So this is going to be not a very effective posture. Instead, make sure that the shoulders draw away from the ears. You can lengthen. If that means your hands are up here, that's fine, but stay lifted through the chest. Keep your core engaged. This will allow you to go that little bit deeper. Keep a steady breath and a steady gaze point. Inhale, head up. Exhale, release. Inhale, bring your knee to center, and exhale to release. Inhale, bring your left knee in. Exhale, open it out to the side. Inhale, lengthen and lift. Exhale, hinge forward from the hip, bringing the hand to the thigh, shin, or foot. If you've got a strap as well, that's a really useful tool to help add the length to the spine and still allowing the shoulders to draw away from the ears. Inhale, head up. Exhale, come back to center. Inhale, your left knee in. Exhale, release out in front of you. Okay, we're going to come to lay down on our backs and we're going to take a Setu Bandhasana bridge. So if you know where you're going, come into it with me. If you're not sure, just watch me first. We're going to come to lay down on our back. We're going to bring our heels in towards our sit bones. Hips, knees and ankles are all in line with each other. So our knees aren't falling out to the side. Instead, they're all stacked in line. The flat edges of the feet should be parallel with the flat edges of the mat, so make sure the toes aren't rolling out to the side. Arms alongside the body, palms face down. As we inhale, we move the pelvis into a posterior tilt. So the tailbone draws towards the backs of the legs as we lift the hips up towards the ceiling. Okay, so maybe you can stay here, or maybe you can roll onto the tops of the shoulders. And maybe interlace your fingers behind the back, getting a nice chest expansion. Focus on lengthening the sit bones down towards the backs of the legs, but keeping the knees drawn into each other. Keep those thighs spiraling down as if you had a block between your thighs. Take one more breath in. Exhale, release the bind, and very gently lower down. Bring the soles of the feet together and allow the knees to fall open to the side for Supta Baddha Konasana. You can rest your left hand on your heart, your right hand on your belly. If this feels a little bit too intense on the hips, you can place blocks underneath the knees, or bring the knees together and the feet to mat distance apart. This is a slightly different mobility of the hips, so this is more of an internal rotation of the hips, but it can feel like a really lovely release as well. And just breathe in deeply your Ujjayi Pranayama. If it helps, you can visualize this deep, powerful color, red, traveling through to your tailbone, your root chakra, Muladhara chakra, full of grounding, powerful earth energy, bringing stability into your life. And begin to take one more deep breath in. Exhale, let it go. You can use your hands to help as you draw your knees in towards center and draw your knees loosely in towards your chest. You can take the hands around the thighs or the shins as you begin to bring gentle movements into the spine. So focus here on keeping length in the spine. So avoid crunching into a little ball, but instead keep the entire length of the spine grounded into the mat. So all the way down to the sit bones, the tailbone, to your root chakra, nice and energized, and you can feel the mobility down all the way through the length of the spine. So we're not just crunching the knees into the chest, but instead staying nice and long. This allows the benefit to travel through the whole body and the pelvis as well. And then when you're ready, we're going to release into Shavasana. So taking any movements you need, begin to extend your legs out long. Bring your feet out to the front corners of the mat. Release your arms alongside the body with the palms facing up. And then softly close your eyes. It may feel nice to tip the chin towards the chest slightly, creating length along the back of the neck, and to draw the shoulders away from the ears and down towards the ribs. This just helps keep open through the chest and the collarbone. Maybe bring the feet a little bit wider, the arms a little bit wider. Let go of your bandhas, if you had a hold of them, your core lock. And then let go of your Ujjayi Pranayama. Allow your gentle, natural rhythms to return to you. Feel truly heavy, supported by the earth as you ground down through your body here. Know that you're in a safe space. The earth, the mat beneath, is protecting and supporting you as your body moves into a state of rest and digest. Processing all the wonderful work you've done, filling up the body with the fresh new energy. And allow the mind to clear. Anytime you feel your mind begin to drift away, just softly bring it back to the breath. If it helps, you can visualize that fresh new energy, powerful red color, traveling in and journeying all the way down into the root of the spine. And as you exhale, it may feel nice to visualize a slightly duller looking energy release from your body. So anything that no longer serves you, emotionally, physically, or spiritually, you cleanse, you reset, and expel from your body. And just rest here in complete harmony of the body, the breath, and the mind for as long as you have time for. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. As you go forward, I wish you peace in your thoughts, peace in your words, peace in your heart. Namaste.